Welcome back to another edition of Outside the Lab here with the Athletes Lab Performance Center. Couldn't be more excited to have our guest on, recruiting coordinator Toby Bicknell from UNC Charlotte. He's a longtime friend. We spent many years recruiting together, and just can't wait to introduce him, have him talk about his background, UNC Charlotte, the great things that they're doing down there, recruiting in general, and just getting a different perspective. So welcome on the show.
Grant, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in case listeners out there, you are not looking at the same guy. So he is bald and has a beard. Whenever he talks, it's going to go on him. Whenever I talk, it's going to be on me. But you are not looking at the same guy. I just want to go ahead and throw that disclosure out there.
You're probably in a little bit better cardiovascular shape than me at this time.
As you guys will see really fast, this will be a conversation between me and Toby. We have a long history together, and it's just awesome to be able to reconnect, get talking with him. So let's get started. Toby, you know, you've been in college baseball many years. I first met you working camps. That was a rite of passage down at Clemson University. Whenever you were coaching down there, I'll never forget those days. So, you know, that's where we start at, me as a young coach getting into the profession, and then you being down there. So go ahead and walk us through your background a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Grant. I actually, so I grew up in Charlotte. I went to Charlotte Christian High School, played American Legion ball for Matthews Post 235. You know, was fortunate enough to play some baseball and some football in high school, and then, you know, started coaching at a young age. Started coaching high school baseball in Charlotte. Started coaching American Legion in Charlotte. Actually got, you know, one of my first coaching jobs was with on the On Deck O's and Mike Schilt. He gave me an opportunity to coach travel baseball, and I know you know Coach Schilt really well.
That's right.
And then just you know, got my degree. Wanted to coach in high school. When I first graduated from Wingate, I went on and I was coaching at Myers Park High School in 2003 and 2004, and then you know, made the decision to go coach college baseball. And Paul O'Neill at UNC Pembroke, who's always been a great mentor to me, gave me an opportunity to get my master's, and I went out there, coached for 2.5 years at Pembroke when we were in the Peach Belt. Learned a ton about everything you possibly imagine about college baseball. Really, you know, full throttle experience. And then, you know, Coach Leggett had an opening in January of 2007, and he offered me the volunteer job, and obviously I jumped on that. And so fortunate to be there, to get to be at Clemson and be around, you know, that level of baseball in the ACC, and obviously to learn so much from Coach Leggett, Kevin O'Sullivan, and Tom Reginas, and the guys that were assistant coaches there. What an awesome experience. Was there for 2 years. Went to Davidson. Got to learn from Dick Cook at Davidson for 2 years in 9 and 10, and then an opportunity was open at the United States Air Force Academy. Moved to Colorado, and had the pleasure of being a part of a big mission at the Air Force Academy and serving those that are going to serve our nation under head coach Mike Kozlowski, who is another great mentor and one of my best friends, one of the best leaders I've ever been around, one of the best developers of men. And then took a job at Kentucky in December of 2015, right before the 2016 season. Was really excited to work with Gary Henderson and Keith Vorhoff and the rest of the staff there. Was only there for a year, and then that summer I took a job with Prep Baseball Report Texas and was the scouting director in Texas for 3 years. And then Coach Woodard got the head job at Charlotte, and he called me, I think it was either at the end of June or beginning of July, and he was like, "Hey man, do you want to come home and coach?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm in. Let's go." And so really big opportunity for me to come back to the city that I grew up in, to be back around my family, but to coach at such an outstanding university, and it's such an awesome city, right? I mean, Grant, you've traveled around a ton. You've seen a ton of cities, not only in the Southeast, but I'm sure from coast to coast as I have, and Charlotte's one of the best in the United States. I love.
There's no question.
You know, I love all the amenities that we have. I love just the energy of the city. And campus is no different. I hadn't been on campus. I probably hadn't been on campus in 9 or 10 years. Wow. And I've already taken the job. And so I'm driving on campus and I'm pulling in just the growth of campus, the growth, the buildings that are going up, the way the buildings are built, it's all the same color brick. I had never seen the football stadium. The last time I'd been to campus, baseball was kind of the back of the campus. And you drive in and all of a sudden it's the football stadium and all these grad buildings. And, you're looking at the manicured lawns and the trees. And it's like, we've got one of those campuses that I think sets a standard for how a college campus is supposed to be set up. And, it's just a beautiful place. I'm very fortunate to work with 4 of my best friends, one in Robert Woodard, Bo Robinson, who's also a Charlotte native and was an All-American at Charlotte, is our hitting coach. And then Tyler Simmons, I played for his dad at Charlotte Christian, and I've known Tyler for a number of years. And then John Stott is our volunteer assistant, and Stott was a former scout with the Cleveland Indians for 2 years. So it's an awesome time. We've got a young staff, we've got a great university, and we've got great administration. So there's a lot of good stuff going on at Charlotte, and it's definitely one of those places that I think people will hear more about as we move forward.
Man, there's no question. And to sum all that up, there's a couple points you can take out of all that. And that was a very good history of your background and what's going on at Charlotte. But a couple takeaways. Number one, the amount of great and quality coaches you have been around. All right, for the young kids that are listening to this, for the parents that are listening to this, understand, where Coach Bicknell's been in the past, but also, who he's around right now. These people listening, parents and coaches and players, they're not going, know a lot of these names. So, Coach Legg at Clemson, Hall of Fame coach. Coach Cook, Davidson. He was at Davidson for how many years?
27. I think it was 27 plus. Yeah.
27 plus years. All right. Long-time coach there. You talk about the coach at Air Force, what he's done, the quality, obviously the quality of place that is, the mission they have there. And then Coach Henderson at Kentucky, what, those guys and you were able to do at Kentucky, over the past 5 or 10 years, going from, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically a non-contender in the SEC to, 5 or 6 years there where they were extremely competitive in the SEC.
Yeah, Coach Henderson was the assistant there and helped kind of get it going and building it up and doing some things. Then he took over as a head coach, and him and Brad Bohannon did a really nice job of building, and obviously along with Brian Green, who's now the head coach at Washington State, but did a really nice job of building that program. And so I wasn't there for very long. But I got to we were able to add a couple of pieces that spring that I was there. But I can tell you that the recruits that they had in, I think a lot of those guys graduated by now. They just did an amazing job of building an ultra competitive, ultra talented team at Kentucky.
Yeah, I remember those teams very well because they came down to Upstate for 2 or 3 years there.
Yeah, we actually came down to Upstate too my 1 year there.
Yes, and I tell you what, they came down in about 3 buses. Rolled off machines. These guys were well prepared, organized. I tell you what, and the athletes coming off the bus, it seemed like they were all 6'2", 6'3", left-handed hitters. The pitchers were low to mid-90s. I didn't know you could have that many left-handed hitters, quality left-handed hitters in the lineup. It was amazing.
I don't know if you ever did you ever see the old Cliff Hagan Stadium?
No.
Short right field porch.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Well, they have a beautiful stadium now, don't they?
They do. They built a new facility. So, but yeah, my time at Air Force was even before Kentucky, my time at Air Force was awesome. And, just being around Kaz every day and, being a part of that mission and, hearing the things that you hear, not, on a daily basis, being around the cadets and knowing that, those guys have different they've got the same priorities as every other college baseball player, but when they leave the field, those priorities are a little bit more, I'd say, intense with regard to their military rigor and their academic rigor. So,
there's no question. Those guys are serious. They have very, very high standards and goal sets. That must have been quite the experience to be around that. Then, you go on to PBR, and, a lot of people don't know this about you, but, you basically went into the state of Texas where there was no presence with PBR. All right. You used all your recruiting experience and you built up a substantial business and did a heck of a job down there for 3 years. All right. And then coming out of that, and, me and you, we stayed in touch all these years. And then coming right out of that, I'll never forget the phone call I had with you. I guess it was last summer, maybe, about, your possibility to get back into college baseball and leaving, what you built in Texas, and getting back into it. And I'm like, that's a no brainer, because to the point that I'm gonna make here is, man, you're a recruiting guy. All right. Our time spent on the road for many years. This is, our conversations revolved around recruiting, hitting, and strength conditioning. I mean, that's what me and you talked about a lot.
Also, which energy drink we were trying to get next.
Yeah, we were talking about, off the record, we were talking about, all those late nights down at East Cobb, all those Red Bulls or
Monsters.
Yeah. Those were the good old days, that's for sure. But but with all that being said, let's get into recruiting a little bit, because that's what you're known for. You are the recruiting coordinator at UNC Charlotte. That's what you were brought in to do. So let's dive into that a little bit, and let's start with the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19. All right.
Okay.
We all know this is impacting everybody. We don't know where it's going. Okay. It's a fluid situation. You guys are not able to go out until June 1st, from my understanding. But let's start with how really it impacts your team right now. Okay. The NCAA granted another year of eligibility to everybody. Okay. So you're talking about guys having an opportunity, all classes having an opportunity to come back. But then, the seniors in high school, okay, they're not getting another senior year. So they're going to be coming into your program as well. So kind of talk us through all this. So, we have a greater understanding from your perspective, and also the impact you think it may have long-term on some of these guys that are sophomores, juniors, or even freshmen in high school.
Okay. Yeah. So, obviously we've got, everybody knows we've got a ton going on nationally and globally. And that's going to impact baseball. I hate it for every player. I mean, that was my biggest thing. I think when all this happened was you hate it for players, because players aren't going to get years back. I mean, they might be able to come back for another year as a senior. Everybody might get a year of eligibility back, but we know that players have a very short window to play this game. So whether you're in T-ball, high school, JV, whether you're playing Division I, Division II, Division III, college baseball, even pro ball, these guys, every player has some sort of a shelf life. And so you hate it for the players to lose a year. But the good news is the NCAA came in and granted everybody another year of eligibility. And so basically they're going to repeat whatever their eligibility was this spring. They're going to repeat it next year, which is awesome. At least those guys have an opportunity to come back, all of them, whether it's seniors or not. I mean, I can't imagine being a senior and going through a month and a half and feeling like the rug just got pulled out from underneath you and your career's over, right? Or maybe I'm not going to have the same draft opportunity. And there's a lot of different implications from the draft that are going to affect what happens in college baseball as well. I think what you're going to find is that college baseball next year, top to bottom, and junior college baseball next year, top to bottom, are going to be as good as they've ever been. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to compete. And certainly there's different aspects of how you're going to balance a roster and things like that. I can't speak for anybody else. I can tell you that, we're in a good place at Charlotte with the seniors that are coming back. We're excited for those guys. We're excited that they get to have that opportunity and that they want to be back at Charlotte. We're excited for our returners and for our incoming guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Is it certainly going to change the dynamic of how, a lot of teams balance those rosters and things like that? Everybody's going to have to adjust. Right now we're doing a podcast from home on April 15th, right? There's going to be all kinds of stuff. But, I think our support from our administration starting at the top with Mike Hill and obviously then Darren Spees, who's our baseball administrator. Our administration's been fantastic, as far as communication, as far as phone calls, as far as staff Zoom calls. And that starts at the top, and then it works its way down with Coach Woodard. And a lot of the things that we're doing now, staying in touch with our team. We have a weekly Zoom call meeting where we get on a phone call with all of our guys, and that's usually fun because the guys, they're cracking up, and I think they're seeing each other for the first time. And some guys have shaved, some guys haven't shaved. Hey, Coach, I didn't know when you grew a beard that it had gray in it. Fun stuff like that. But then we're also keeping in touch with our recruits and our guys that are committed to us and they're going to be coming in next year. You remember what it's like. You've got housing, you've got dorms, you've got meal plan, right? You're still getting all this stuff lined up. Now you just have a little bit more time to do it.
That's all the fun stuff in recruiting. What are you talking about? That's
who's rooming with who? That's been the biggest one. Who should I room with? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
see, but those are the things, Tobe, that a lot of people don't understand. That's what college baseball coaches go through. It's the amount of, off the field. We would always say that whenever you're a college baseball coach, maybe 10% is on the field, 90% is off the field.
In a role like you were in, or sometimes
as a recruiting guy,
yeah. But you and I both know. One of the reasons I love our staff at Charlotte, not just because I've known 4 of the guys for 16 or 17 years plus, is we're all recruiting, right?
That's right.
Woody was a recruiting coordinator at, or not a recruiting coordinator, but he obviously recruited a lot at Charlotte. He was at Virginia Tech. He was at Wilmington. Everybody. Bo Robinson's been recruiting here for 7 years, and so there's a lot of good conversations that happen, and a lot of things that we get to do. I think it's been awesome the way that Coach Woodard set it up, and that we're all recruiting, right? Obviously some guys are limited to on campus, but we're all having recruiting conversations. It's usually a topic we talk about on a daily basis as a staff, right? Where we're at, what we're doing, what we're looking for. And
absolutely.
Then the other side of that too is the player development of the things that we do at Charlotte. And I know you mentioned strength and conditioning. And so from a player development side, some of the things that we do at Charlotte that I think are awesome, and it goes along with the growth mindset that Coach Woodard brought in when he took the job is player development. So when we sit down as a staff, the first thing that we're going to talk about, whether it's the time that we spend, whether it's how we break up our day, whether it's with how we're going to spend an extra surplus of money, right? Not that there's going to be a lot of that going around here in the next couple of months, but when we first got the job, right, we could spend $1,000 on decals to go on the back of the dugout, or we could take that money and invest it into player development. And so
exactly
when Woody first got the job, one of the first things he did was partner with P3 out of St. Louis, which is pitching performance. And he partnered with Driveline. And so P3 came down on the first day, and they did full head-to-toe assessments, biomechanics of every single pitcher and catcher on our staff. That goes from internal, external hip mobility, wrist flexion, grip strength, all of it. And then semi-motion capture comes in and with P3, and we have 8 high-speed cameras around our guys while they're throwing a bullpen. And they're not doing that with markers on. They're doing that in their full uniform. And so now it builds out an avatar, which then shows the guys. We've got high-speed cameras with the Sony RX100s that are watching the ball come off the fingertips, so we can work on pitch development, hand placement, spin rotation with our Rapsodos that we've added. And I'm not trying to talk too fast, but we get kind of fired up about all the stuff that we do here.
Absolutely, and you should be. This is familiar, and this is what we talk about around Athletes Lab Performance Center, and this is how a lot of people are listening are going to be a part of our Performance Center and our teams, and you're going to hear a lot of the same things that Coach Bicknell just talked about, which is the focus on the player, first and foremost, player development, growth mindset. All right, that's another thing that's always talked about. Biomechanics, everything that I know you guys do, that we do, is set up not for you, okay, is for the development of the athlete, bottom line. And that's what's awesome about what you guys are doing and where college baseball's gone. College baseball has come a long way. And if you look at, over the last 10 or 15 years, let's say, I'm a top 5, top 10 rounder out of high school. Chances are I'm probably going to go to college. All right. Because I have a chance to get a degree. All right. Number one, all right, get 3 years of school. But number two, I'm going to be around the best strength conditioning guys. All right. And the best coaches that are focused on player development. That's, and it's really become a place where you can go and train year round. All right. As opposed to, let's say, going and playing low A ball or rookie ball for 6 months, and then you're basically by yourself for 6 months. So talk about that a little bit, how, it's really evolved. College baseball has evolved, over the last 10, 15 years with, exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, and you can see it some too with a lot of the hires that are being made in pro ball. And I never played pro ball and I've never coached pro ball, so I can't speak on that side. Just more of an observation, and that a couple of my good friends are now in professional baseball that I thought were some of the best coaches I'd ever been around. But player development, really like training guys and developing hitters and developing pitchers and developing whatever position you play. Some things that you're going to get. The opportunity that college baseball gives you is it gives you an opportunity to grow up, but it gives you an opportunity to fail in a controlled environment inside of a family, right? I mean, right. When you're growing up, you had 2 brothers?
3.
You had 3 brothers. Holy cow.
Sister. Yeah.
Man, sister. Holy I can imagine that, like, if you guys went out on your own and you left the nest and you got in trouble, that's a lot different than raising Cain inside the house and, fighting with your brothers and your sisters, right? That's a totally different entity. And so in college baseball, you have an opportunity to fail right inside that bubble, which is your team. And, whether that's failing on the field, failing in the classroom, but you get a chance to grow, right? And certainly, in order to grow, you're going to have to reach outside your box. You're going to have to try some different things. And I think, but you also got the safety net, which is all the coaches on staff, the strength and conditioning coach. I know our strength and conditioning coach, John Patrick, is unbelievable. And, he's a guy that has absolutely zero ego when it comes to, having P3 come in and give our pitchers the exact workout that they're going to do. And he's 100% bought into it. If you go into our strength and conditioning room in the weight room, let's say 8 guys throw on a Friday inter squad. When they lift on Saturday, all 8 guys are doing a different strength program. Because It's all based off their needs. It's based off their mobility. And so Coach Patrick oversees every bit of that, as well as nutrition, right? So you're getting a certain level of nutrition at the collegiate level that you're not – I can't speak that you're not getting it somewhere else, but you're getting a level that we weren't getting 15 years ago maybe. And
that's right.
The players' lounge, the food that's coming in there, the way that the meal plans are set up. And so – you just take the strength conditioning, the nutrition, and then all of a sudden you add in quality athletic trainers like we have with Brianna Richards at Charlotte. And she's fantastic. She's a young up-and-coming baseball guru when it comes to arm care and, the different things that she can do on and off the field to keep guys healthy. And really it's a perfect storm of guys are going to get better. Guys are going to be healthy. And certainly injuries happen here and there, but the opportunity for those guys to grow, right? And then you combine that with the player development side and the things that people are doing these days, whether it's P3 or whether it's, us and that we've got the blast motion sensors, Rapsodo hitting, Rapsodo pitching. We've got an outstanding hitting coach in Bo Robinson that played 8 years professionally and was an All-American at Charlotte. And so the player development side, guys are getting better, but they're also becoming stronger, right? Healthier,
right on.
And more durable. From a year-round standpoint. And so I think what you're seeing is, the development plan in college baseball is solid. And I think that's starting to move up to the professional level as well. And that's why I would assume that you're getting, guys are moving on to the next level as well from a coaching standpoint.
Man, that's awesome. That is great input. And I'll tell you what, I'm fired up. I'm fired up about college baseball, recruiting, excited about UNC Charlotte. If you're listening to this, you have to, after that information right there. If not, college baseball may not be for you. But there is a ton of resources, a lot involved. It really is a full holistic approach academically, player development, the experience, the culture, which you hit on. Let's talk a little bit about, what should players be looking for whenever they're trying to find a school? There's so much involved in that decision. For me, I don't want to talk on this too much. I want you to expand on it. But for me, as a recruiting guy, I would encourage players I was recruiting, make sure that you're picking a program, for all the right reasons and not the wrong reasons. What I mean by that is you want to look at the culture. You want to look at the college campus and, is there growth? All right. You want to look at the roster. And obviously you want to look at the majors and academic wise, make sure that's a right fit. The size of it, all those good things. But yeah, it has to be a holistic approach in all those different areas when making a decision for college.
Yeah, I heard a guy that was a lot smarter than me one time say it's kind of like buying a car, right? And that I can want certain things, but what can I afford? What fits my budget? What's realistic, right? I mean, I can't, I don't know if driving a 2-door Maserati when I've got 4 kids is probably the best idea. There's a lot of different approaches. I think finding the right fit, you'll hear that term thrown around a lot. It's so true because it's got to be the right fit. But it's not just about, I think this is the right fit. It's about again, player development. Where am I going to have the best opportunity? A lot of guys are concerned about, hey, are my parents going to get to see me play? And, do I get along with the coaches? But also have I watched them practice? Have I watched them play? I know I took that for granted a ton. And granted, that was 30 years ago, but I took it for granted when I was coming up, go watch those teams practice, go watch those teams play and get an idea of what the players look like on the field. And if I'm a shortstop and, there's 2 shortstops battling out, am I better than one of those guys? Now, if
That's
I'm
a great point.
Not the end of the world, but am I projected in my mind? Do I see myself being better? Because a lot of times, I made the mistake. I'm sure players today don't make the same mistakes that I did, but we make the mistake sometimes when we're young of thinking that we are the center of the universe. It's just the nature. It's just human nature. And so, you want to give yourself opportunity to see other players, to be around good players, to be around great competition. And the more you do that, the more you start to see hey, I may be good, but I've got to get better. And I think kids today have a little bit better idea of that just because of how much baseball they play and how many different areas they play in, moving around and playing outside of their areas and seeing a high level of baseball. But you want to find the right fit. And it's got to be – I think the academic portion is really important. I mean, I'd hate to ever see a kid not major in engineering because they didn't have that at the school that he wanted to go to, right? He was really dead set on being an engineer because you can't replace that degree with something else. Right.
That's right.
Certain higher level degrees like that. I mean, I think those are some important things to remember. And then, the last one is just, I think every kid, every player is going to be a little bit different. And it's about I think you're going to get a gut feeling. I don't think you're ever going to be 100% sold on most, if not all decisions in your life. And so you've got to have the ability to take it upon yourself to be a part of the recruiting process. Your family, your parents, your whole family is going to be a part of that recruiting process. And certainly they're going to help players make decisions and they're going to help guide those decisions. And when it comes down to dollars and cents, parents are going to be pretty much responsible for that side of it too. But I think it's also important that the player take it upon himself to know that my parents aren't going to be going to the classroom. My parents aren't going to be in that locker room. They're not going to be on the field. They have to take some ownership of that and say, I really have to communicate not only with my parents, but also with the coaching staff that this is part of me growing up and making my own decisions. When players are taking ownership of their own decisions, whether they make a great decision, a poor decision, or a middle of the road decision, when they take ownership of it is when they really have the opportunity to learn the most from it. Right? I can blame, I could say, hey, I went to this school because my mom thought it was a good idea or my dad said it was affordable. And then I go there and I leave and I blame it on my mom and my dad. Well, that's not taking ownership, right? That's kind of having a little bit of a victim mentality. So,
that's exactly right.
Take as much ownership as they can in the process. And certainly parents, family, grandparents, whoever it is going to help guide them in their decision-making process, asking the right questions, and making sure that they're not either jumping into something too quick or waiting around for too long before a good opportunity passes.
Man, that is great information right there. And I hope, everybody has a chance to really listen to that and listen to that again. And, a couple of things I want to piggyback off right there. And I know what you guys are doing, you're creating a culture at UNC Charlotte that is going to be great for guys coming in and developing at a high level, but it's also going to be challenging. And, what's important is, one of my favorite sayings and what I've heard among coaches for many years is you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Growth does not happen in your comfort zone. It cannot happen in your comfort zone. So I know, what you guys are doing on a daily basis is you're trying to get guys out of their comfort zone where growth can happen, and you're challenging them. But the good thing is at the college level, it's in more of a controlled environment. And the way the coaches, handle it is just unbelievable. But talk about that a little bit, because you hit on it a little bit. Guys have to understand that you don't get better playing at the same level of competition. All right. You have to travel outside your area. You have to go and play better teams. That's going to force you to make adjustments, kind of like the same situation we're in right now. With being shut down, there's a lot of, analogies you can use there, but, you really have to learn to make adjustments. And the only time that can happen is whenever we get out of our comfort zone. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. I think some of the best coaches in college baseball are the best communicators, right? So when you're in player development, you've got to be able to communicate why we're doing something, right? We're doing this because of this, but then you also have to set up practice to give them opportunities to fail their way through it so that they can get better from it, right?
That's exactly right.
Set up those reps, and you don't script practice well, and you don't communicate the objectives well, kids are just showing up and they feel like they're getting punched in the forehead by, you got to be a really good communicator. I've been fortunate to hear, and I know we all have some really crystal clear communicators, and we've got a couple on our staff that make my job as a recruiter a lot easier. But you're trying to set it up for a challenge in practice, because if practice is tough, games are going to be or seem and appear easier. And then you're also the amount of reps that is going to allow them to then start to experience success and make adjustments and to improve. And then you've also got the team aspects of it too. So like, how much time are we spending here? How much time are we spending there? And so, in the recruiting process, a lot of things that we talk to guys about is not necessarily how hard they work, right? I mean, we're going to recruit kids that work hard. We want to recruit players that love baseball and love to work at it. But then the other side of it too is trying to find out how coachable a kid is, right? Because there's a real balance in getting yes, sir, every other word, which, there's nothing wrong with saying yes, sir, but sometimes you just want to have a very honest, authentic conversation with a player. And if he's saying yes, sir, every 2 seconds, I think me and you both know he's not listening.
That's exactly right.
So so when I tell kids, when I've ever given speeches to parent groups or player groups, I just say, be authentic, right? If you're not, an energy guy or you're not a joker, that's fine. If you talk a lot, great. But let's have a very authentic relationship and conversation, because, in the next 4 years, I'm going to spend more time around you than I am my family. So you're looking for guys that love to work, are not afraid of a challenge, can communicate in some form or fashion. And obviously that's going to improve as they go through college as well. You're looking for guys with leadership, right? And leadership looks a lot different, but you need somebody that's kind of got, you like to have kids that have a little bit of that football mentality, right?
That's right.
Me personally, I do. And then the other side of it too is how coachable are they, right? You don't need them to stand on top of their head and do a cartwheel if you tell them to, right? I don't ever mind a kid asking me why we're doing something or why is it like this. Now, I used to not be like that as a coach, right? I used to be like, kids are asking me why, but as you get deeper into this thing and you learn to become a better coach and you're diving into your pedagogy, you start realizing this is important. Kids need to ask why. They need to challenge a little bit, because that's going to challenge me as a coach to be better. So I want kids to know why. But then we also have to set our practices up to allow them the opportunities to, one, grow through failure. But then, well, I think we all know the best teams are going to be player-driven and player-led. And
exactly right.
That's not an easy balance as a coach. And so you're trying to find the right pieces in the recruiting process. How many leaders do we have in our 2020 class? How many leaders do we feel like we have in our 2021 class? Because, Gary Henderson told me, one time, he's like, Toby, if you can get 4 position players on the field every day that are leaders, he's like, you're going to have something really special. And, you just think about those things as you hear great coaches talk. And, I think I went off on a tangent there, but that kind of
that was great information. To move on a little bit, let's have a message, for the parents, because you've hit on a few words or a couple words that I use a lot: responsibility, accountability, all right, growth mindset. Whenever these kids are going through the recruiting process, they have to be proactive. They have to be accountable. All right. It can't be the parents. You're not recruiting the parents. You're recruiting the kid. So give us a little bit of information on, what the kids need to be doing to be proactive. If they really want to get recruited at the next level, they have to be accountable. They have to engage in conversations. They have to send emails. They have to stay in contact. It can't be their parents doing that. They're the ones that, grow up at some point because they are going to be stepping on college campuses, whether it's UNC Charlotte, Division II, Division III, wherever. So expand on that a little bit about accountability, a little message to the parents, and what guys can do to be proactive.
So let me preface this by saying I am not a parent, so I don't know what that's like. I'm not an expert I am an expert uncle, but I'm not an expert parent. So parents and families are going to be a big part of the recruiting process, right? Because, those relationships with mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and whoever's raising you, right? Those are going to be a big part of the recruiting process because that's your background, right? That's where you come from. That's how you were raised. That's what kind of an atmosphere you're in, just as much as what high school they come from and what their high school coach is like. Because, me and you could probably go on another hour-long conversation about what kind of environment and culture they're coming from at their high school.
Yes,
right?
we could.
You're gonna know certain things about kids that come from certain programs, right? You're gonna know how to work. They know how to practice. They know how to show up with a belt, with their shirt tucked in, with their hat on straight, and that they understand what it means to show up early. They, all those different things that you get at good high school programs. And you just like there's some really good pitching coaches in high school, and there's some really good hitting coaches in high school. Like, there's a certain level of comfort that goes with recruiting, especially in an area for a while, that you know what you're going to get. And so with families, that's a big part of a player's background as well, because it's how were they raised and, what kind of home do they grow up in, as much as it affects them and who they are, what kind of decisions they make off the field, but also what kind of decisions they make in the classroom. And so, when you talk about taking ownership, not only does it start at home, but it also starts with just their relationships with their parents. One of my favorite players that I ever remember seeing. Now, he didn't come to Air Force. He actually ended up coming to Florida at some point in time. But this was down in Jupiter in the fall, and I think you were still on the road. But this kid had just gotten done playing like 5 games in the last 3 days at Jupiter. They lost in the semifinal game. This kid was all over the field, right, playing shortstop. And here's a little bit of the background for you, right? I come to find out his dad is a retired Marine. He's got 2 younger siblings, and one of those, I think, is an infant. So this kid leaves the field, just loses in the semifinals, played his 5th game in 3 days. He takes his bat bag he's got on his shoulder. His mom's pushing the stroller with his baby sister. He takes the baby bag, puts it over his shoulder, and then he pushes the stroller out to the parking lot. Right. So, what does that tell you? Like, he's not, and this kid was 16. It's not like he was 19. It's not like he was dumping his stuff off and telling his mom to get him a Gatorade. Right. He gets off the field. He's gassed. He's smoked. He's sweating. And he takes everything upon himself, shakes his father's hand, gives his mom a hug, and then he pushes his baby sister in the stroller, carrying all of his bag. And
Wow.
so that's one example. But the other side of that too is that players today, when they really take ownership, it starts at home, but it's also in the classroom, right? I mean,
that's right.
I think we all fall into the trap of staring at our phones a lot and staring at computer screens a lot. And, gosh, your iPhone will tell you how long you've been on it this week, right, for screen time. So interacting and being able to have conversations, not only in school, but with your teachers, with your peers, with your teammates, with your coaches. I know some of the favorite players that I've ever been around were guys that asked them how they were doing. They would tell me, and then they would also be like, Coach, how are you doing, man? And, so you start to get a little bit more authentic communication there, right? So.
Man, that's great information right there. I mean, there's a lot of detail into that, and people can really take a lot out of that. How detailed it is, it's just not about how you perform on the field. It's really what kind of teammate you are. Coaches are looking at all that, what you're doing off the field, all kinds of things along those lines. So, that's a good message for parents out there, players out there that, you're just not getting evaluated again with what's going on in the field. So let's move on and let's talk about this summer. I mean, where do you see recruiting going this summer? Nobody knows. I mean, let's just be honest. The elephant in the room. Nobody knows.
And I'm just because I honestly, I really don't know. Like, I don't have an answer. You'd like to think and you'd like to hope and, you'd like to pray that, good things are going to happen, globally, nationally, and then on down to baseball for America to get back to work and to get back going. Obviously, safety's important, and we've got things that are beyond our control. But I know there's so many great college baseball coaches out there. Whenever it does open up, college baseball coaches are ready to go, right? They're ready to go watch. They're ready to be at the yard with a radar gun and a stopwatch and a floppy hat and a ton of sunscreen if you're me. And, we want to be on the field. We want to be at the field. And so, one of the things that I would tell kids, and, you get a lot of emails, and now's a good time for guys to email. I know we're doing a ton of recruiting based off video, right, that we're finding online and, whether it's on social media or scouting websites. So, probably one of the worst things you could do right now as a player is panic.
Right.
I was talking earlier about, a buddy of mine said it's like buying a car, right? If you go onto a car lot at 6 p.m. and you need to buy a car tonight before they close at 9, like, you're not going to make a good decision, and you're probably going to get taken. There's going to be some bad decisions that are made when you panic. So first and foremost is don't panic, right? Just like we're doing from a recruiting standpoint, and just like travel baseball organizations and American Legion programs and high school programs are doing right now, coming up with an A, a B, and a C plan. And trying, I don't want to say delaying a decision, but having 3, maybe 4, maybe it means 5 different plans for you. If you're a 2021 grad, like, I don't think there's any reason to worry, because everybody's still going to be looking to fill their needs, because as much as they haven't been seen, we haven't been seeing them either. And so we're going to be out there. We're going to be at your games. I think you're going to see everything when it does finally come back. Like, it's going to happen organically the way it's supposed to, simply because college coaches still need to bring in recruiting classes and to fill rosters. If you make a decision a little bit later than everybody in your class a year before you made it, okay, well, it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, it's not necessarily about when you make that decision. It's about finding the right fit. And if you find the right fit later, well, I mean, that's what it's all about anyways. So, junior college, I think there's so much good junior college baseball out there. All the different levels of baseball, Division II. I played Division II and coached Division II. You're gonna end up at the right spot. I don't think anybody's gonna get necessarily slided, but it all depends on how you handle this time period. Coach Woodard was talking about there's gonna be 2 kinds of people that come out of this. There's gonna be those that got better from it, and there's gonna be those that got worse. And
that's exactly right.
Who you are and how you handle this downtime, right? How you handle this downtime is going to impact the future of your career, just like it would if you were playing high school baseball right now. And so I think it's important that players are finding a routine and a good routine. I think it's important that they're doing what they can within the parameters of what the CDC and obviously, the higher ups say that you need to do from a social distancing standpoint. Doing whatever it is you can. For some guys, that's not as much, but for some guys, that's more from a strength, conditioning, stretching, how much you're throwing, because none of us know when this thing's going to open up, but making sure that you are ready, right? That great saying of, if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. And so being in that place. And then, the other side of that too is players need to dominate the classroom right now. They have the opportunity to probably spend more time learning and applying themselves academically than they ever have. And so they need to take advantage of that. And then the last two that I'll say is, putting the phone down and reading a book, right? I know that's even a challenge for me, right? I mean, I'm over here reading, a Jocko Willink book, a Ted Ferriss book, and I've got another one, and I forget the author's name, but like making myself and being more regimented about my time to sit down and read. And then the last one, and I think this goes without saying, but too many times as young people, I know I take it for granted, is serving your family and taking care of your people, right? Whether that's your mom, your dad, your grandmother, and maybe for your grandmother's sake, it's not necessarily going in her house and seeing her and giving her a hug. Maybe it's just making sure that she's doing all right and, she's got what she needs. But doing chores around the house, getting outside and working in the yard, and maybe even doing it without your parents having to ask you to do it just because it needs to get done. Take the opportunity of the time that you have right now to serve those around you.
Man, that's awesome. That's another great point, another great message. And, that's something that, our organization has really been relaying, to the members, to the athletes that are within the organization, be proactive, go a step above, just basically mirroring everything that, you talked about right there. And it's a great opportunity for everyone to hear it, from somebody else and from a different perspective. At the end of the day, we're all in this together, and, we're all in the same situation. Nobody can really go out and do anything. So really, you have 24 hours in a day. What are you going to do with those hours? All right. You can spend that time being negative. All right. Or you can spend that time setting a plan every single day, being proactive. All right. Focusing on your schoolwork, building relationships, working out, spending time in the yard, doing something to help other people, help your family, whatever that may be. And that's really going to benefit just not, in the short term, but long term, really. I think there's going to be a lot of character building, or is a lot of character building going on during this time. So that was a great message right there. And before we get off, what else? What else do you want to say? This has been good.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm really fortunate to have been a part of college baseball and just baseball in general. Feel very lucky, not only at every stop along the way that I've had, but also especially back in my hometown and to be a Charlotte 49er and to be around great people on an awesome campus. Miss seeing you on the road. I can tell you.
Yeah, man.
I can tell you that I think we all, in some form or fashion, I highly doubt, or I hope that we don't take it for granted, being able to be out on the field or be out on the road recruiting. I know, we miss both. So players, make the most of it. Families, make the most of it. Enjoy your time together. Stay safe. And, go Niners.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, we can't thank you enough. Coach Bicknell, UNC Charlotte recruiting coordinator, and we can't wait to have you up at Athletes Lab Performance Center. We think, we know it's going to blow your mind. 45 minutes away, back half, full turf field, front half, we have 8 cages, a pitching area, and then also a college weight room that mimics a college weight room. So 3 double racks, dumbbells. That we were going to bring it. That's for sure. But everything that you talked about, our goal is for sure is guys that come out of our program, they're going to be ready to compete in whatever college program they go into. They're going to be ready. They're going to go through the nutrition. They're going to go through the strength conditioning programs. They're going to go through the hitting with former college coaches, former college players, pitching with former college pitching coach. And then, obviously the two strength and conditioning coaches that we brought on, and Ryan Gant and Audra Harrison. So with all that being said, man, we can't wait to get you up there. But in the meantime, you stay safe down there. Can't thank you enough for coming on. All right. And can't wait to get down to UNC Charlotte to see the Niners play.
Always good to see you, brother.
All right, man. You take care. Thank you.